Hello, my name is Alicia Shapiro with AInews.com, and I've got a great interview today with Carolyn from Trustpilot and Jesse from Admin. They announced a huge, innovative platform that amplifies consumer voices that will give feedback to businesses with real consumer reviews. Let's start with you, Carolyn. Can you
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about the TrustLayer that was announced yesterday?
sure. Yeah, it's great to be here, Alicia.
Thank
So
you.
thanks for having us. I don't know if I need my mic here. So yes, we're with Trustpilot, and some people in the US may not know Trustpilot because we're a
Yes.
lot more established in the UK and Europe.
Okay.
But actually, the US is our fastest growing market. So we're growing around 26% in the US
Nice.
versus about 20% in Europe. And so Trustpilot is really a platform for consumers to share their experiences about businesses. And we exist to foster trust between consumers
Right.
and businesses. And we help consumers make the right choice, and we help businesses to build trust, grow and improve. That's our value proposition. Now, as a result of that, we've got this huge wealth of amazing data.
Yeah.
So to put that in context, we've got over 300 million reviews, and each one of those reviews represents a different customer's experience. Like it's a real consumer voice. And that's also growing every day. So we have about 190,000 new reviews every single day. So it's very fresh information, very high velocity. And so we're working with this amazing kind of community of people sharing their experiences and creating this data set. And today was really about saying, how do we make that accessible to more people? Because fundamentally, that's about how do we amplify those consumer voices in more places, because that will help to really champion great businesses and help them stand out. So we've been working with a whole different range of sectors to do that. Everything from LLM and search, as you would expect. How do we help consumers to know what the AI generated recommendations are based on?
Yeah.
If they're based on a real consumer experience, that helps. We're also working with commerce, where we're looking at how do we be the trust signal in a commerce environment as a kind of symbol of value. We're working with payment and risk providers on how do you detect fraud online by
Oh,
using
wow.
our data set, and how do you also vet merchants and try to provide that service. And then the area that we announced yesterday was TrustLayer is our proposition to do that. It's a suite of data solution tools, which is a sort of series of APIs where you can access all of the amazing consumer sentiment, but it's also a kind of SaaS platform for those that might not quite be as savvy with APIs. They can go onto it a bit
Yeah.
and then be able to access the analytics. And it's some reports. We announced yesterday also our flagship partners, which is really exciting to have Jesse here, which is in investing.
Okay.
And so in investing, our flagship partners are Advent International. So that's where Jesse is from as global head of data science, and also Felix Capital, which is more an earlier stage venture capital firm. So yeah, we're working together now to bring that to life in investing.
That's an amazing idea. I love that. But I know a lot of people on the consumer side, anyway, they don't know if they can trust the reviews because they're either paid or they're bots or whatever. So, how do you tell the difference between a real consumer or business
Yep.
review versus a bot?
Yeah, so this is a really big priority for us at Trustpilot. We see
Okay.
that as our core USP, is we're an independent platform. So what
Okay.
that means is we're totally open. Anybody can leave a
Nice.
review. We'd have no advertising, so we have no other incentive. We're purely existing in order to provide genuine consumer experiences. And then almost all our investment goes into content integrity. So
Love
we
that.
do a huge amount of investment into the tech stack. And what's quite interesting is when you first join, you know that each review has a certain amount of metadata
Yeah.
associated with it. So you think it's got a location and it's got a user, it's got a timestamp. What I was quite surprised at when I joined is there's actually hundreds of metadata points
Wow.
around a review. So how long it takes you to fill it in or whether you've copied and pasted. We have a lot of location consistency mapping. So there's a huge science and multi-models that goes into kind of how we actually protect the integrity on the site. And then in addition to that, we also put a lot of energy in how we're proactively designing a system of trust where the invites, for example, enable you to tag every review to a transaction. So we can
Oh,
be
cool.
really specific about where the source of that review comes from.
I love
And
that.
then we do a lot of verification on the consumer side, the business side. So for us, we really prioritize that's our number one focus, being
Yeah.
Trustpilot, as you would expect.
Yeah.
And we work very closely with the regulators as well. So the FTC cited Trustpilot, I think, 27 times in its latest regulation on fake reviews. So we're really trying to champion this and be at the forefront of fighting this push for authentic customer voices because that's what you want to hear. And that's what you
Yes.
want to base all of these applications on. It has to be real. It has to be authentic. And then it's impactful.
And Jesse, how are you using TrustLayer in your company?
For us, it's hugely important in driving the diligence work that we do and getting comfortable with the kinds of companies that we're investing in. We want to hear those authentic voices from the customers. We want to understand their real experiences with the businesses so that we understand the company themselves. And in that sense, our incentives are very closely aligned with the customers and with Trustpilot in that we want it raw. We don't want a curated subset managed by the company that's designed to paint a picture of glass half full. We really want to understand the genuine experiences so that we know what we're investing in. And that also helps us in our mission of governing our companies competently and well and driving for better at all times. If we can be a voice of the customer at the board level, because we are scouring those reviews and using those reviews to constructively challenge our management teams, I think that's a huge value that we can drive from the board, powered by the kinds of data that Trustpilot provide. And so we really value their mission of amplifying genuine customer voices. We really value the investments they make in the integrity of the platform, ensuring that there isn't a plethora of fake reviews, and that to the extent modern technology allows, verifying that a real customer had a real experience, and that's what's being talked about.
That's so innovative to me, because a company that keeps the customer in mind, that wants to improve the company and its products before the customer, is just, it's so refreshing actually to hear that, because I don't know, there's so many cynical things corporations get pinned on, all the data privacy and things like that.
That's actually a great point, Alicia, because one thing that I love is when you talk to CEOs and they say, every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is I go to look at Trustpilot. Oh, because it gives me a raw feed of what the genuine customer is saying. And I think for many CEOs, that is the challenge, is you don't hear that raw voice.
Right.
You often have so many layers and not everyone tells you the truth, and it's quite difficult to hear that. So I think that's the power, is anybody can leave a review. And it's not like on Twitter, for example, where it's the number of followers is how your voice gets elevated. Everybody is equal on Trustpilot. And if you leave a review, there's a good chance the CEO is going to read it and something might happen. And
that's exciting.
That's quite powerful in this world we're living in of AI, is the human is really front and center. And I think that's what's exciting about Trustpilot.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I want to reinforce the point that it shouldn't just be the best CEOs that have made that decision and made that part of their personal habit. I think what Trustpilot are offering is the ability to structurally embed this feedback loop in the companies that they work with. So it should feed directly into the CRM. There are cases of it feeding directly into the Slack channels of the CX team. There are cases of it feeding directly into performance management, for example, of delivery drivers. We have that in some of our portfolio companies. And we look at reviews closely whenever our product companies launch a new product. Like the key success factors is dissecting the Trustpilot reviews to understand how well it was received and what people are saying about it. So it's going from good habits from great CEOs to, I think, offering a structural solution and a structural feedback loop. That's one of the things that we encourage all of our portfolio companies to do, is to build this sensory organ, if you will.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And we were talking about how these reviews and TrustLayer can amplify real consumer voices. How does that happen? How do you amplify that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the more time we spend on them, the more we realize there's so many use cases of how this can be amplified. And it's almost, where do we prioritize first? Has been a bit the challenge. The first thing is, as you would expect, wherever you're searching or discovering information, whether you're asking, hey, this chatbot, can you find me a plumber in the area that's trustworthy? That's about embedding kind of trust signals as part of search and discovery, wherever that may take place. So we're doing a lot of work with LLMs and with search platforms to look at how does Trustpilot become the symbol of trust within that environment, so that AI-generated recommendations can be really based on a real customer experience and you know the source of what's being recommended. So that's one big space. I think the other is in commerce. So particularly in social commerce, there's a lot of how do you embed trust in social commerce? You might see something coming up on your feed and it looks great, but you're like, can I really trust this? What do I know about it? Where's it coming from? And so there's a kind of like the traditional consumer side. But more interestingly, what we're exploring is all these other use cases. Jesse's talked a bit about investing, but also procurement is an interesting space.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of businesses are looking to buy from suppliers, but how do I know if I can trust the supplier?
Exactly.
So it's another good space. And We're looking at risk intelligence as well. So know your customer and looking at kind of the insurance space, payments, trying to eliminate fraud. So there's really an amazing wealth of different spaces. It's where do we focus first, really?
Right. Yeah, that's great. Jesse, what happens if you get a negative review? What do you do then?
To us, that's gold. And there's often a silent minority, especially in high quality companies of the kind that we would typically focus on investing in. Our intention is always to back high quality companies. The negative review should be seen positively as a source of potential innovation. In my previous life, we saw a wonderfully successful product launch that had a massive downside. There was a pair of leggings. In my previous life, different company, I won't name names, but midway through that, these leggings were designed for weightlifting in the gym. And midway through squatting, if you were of a certain size or of a particular athleticism, these leggings became see-through and sometimes tore down the seam. We reacted to that immediately for obvious reasons and invested in the quality of that product so that that company has subsequently built a pair of leggings that stands up to the demands of their lifting athletes. So taking it as a positive feedback loop, acting on it and showing that you're a proactive company, I think can only be seen constructively in the long run. Nobody likes the sting of a short-term bad customer experience, but bad customer experiences happen. We need to build that sensory organ to be conscious of those and to be always seen to be continually improving. And that's what those best CEOs that you're talking about are also doing with their morning review of reviews. It's searching for areas of improvement as well.
I remember we had one CEO in our core portfolio who he called up and it was, my trust score's gone down. I'm really upset about this. And obviously it is a horrible thing when you see that. And we said, do you know why? Do you know why it's gone down? Oh, I'm not sure. We went in and we really tried to unpack what was driving that. And it turned out it was the last mile delivery of the parcel. And so we went and we said, why is that? They were outsourcing to a supplier with a terrible trust score. And so we were actually able to go back and say, look, we can recommend that this could be an option. And they were able to introduce an operational change and see that uplift. So bad reviews, as Jessie says, can actually be hugely powerful. And Angela, who's not with us today, but she's around from VC, also talks about with her early stage companies, sometimes when they take a dip on their supply chain reviews, so it's a signal they're growing fast. And actually she says that could be quite an interesting investment because they just need capital to upgrade the kind of scale of their supply chain. And so it's not always a negative. It can be actually a signal of growth. As well. So
an easy fix.
A little bit of money.
And is TrustLayer available to businesses today or is there a wait list?
Yeah, so we've announced it today. It will be launching around Q3, but we are doing early signups. So if people go to the webpage, they can sign up and we're bringing on some select partners, including Jessie, of course, but others as well. And we're really excited to learn as much as we can in terms of how this can add value in different sectors and help us on our purpose of amplifying consumer voices further.
Yes, I love that. And what is your website that people can get more information about that?
Sure. Yeah. If you go to trustpilot.com, you'll see on the consumer side, if you type in Trustpilot TrustLayer, you'll be able to go to our landing page where you'll see the various data solutions. And there'll be a lot more coming from us over the coming months with new partnerships being announced. More to come.
Great. Thank you, Jessie and Carolyn, for joining us today. And this has been really fascinating. And I think it's going to change how people view businesses because now they are building this trust and it's not just AI talking. You're not just talking to a bot. You're getting real consumer voices, real experiences that have been vetted. And this is just phenomenal.
Thank you.
I thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.